and her in the Reynolds Club at the University of Chicago. The statue was positioned directly across from a bronze relief honoring the college president who made Simpson move off campus. Robert S. Abbott, the father of Black journalism, was a lawyer, newspaper publisher, and writer. He was a self-made millionaire and is recognized as the first African-American media mogul. Abbott founded the Chicago Defender in 1905. The newspaper slogan was "American race prejudice must be destroyed." Through Abbott's strategic use of Pullman porters, he developed a nationwide distribution system. The Defender became known as America's Black newspaper. Abbott developed Bud Billiken clubs named after a fictional character he created. In 1929, he expanded this concept to include the Bud Billiken Parade and Picnic. This event has become the second largest parade in the United States. It continues as an annual celebration of education and African American life in Chicago, Illinois. Jean-Baptiste Pointe du Sable, a pioneer, entrepreneur, fur trader, and linguist. In 1782, DuSable became the first permanent non-indigenous settler to erect a cabin at a site in which would later become Chicago, Illinois. By 1790, he had established an extensive and prosperous trading settlement. He is the first permanent resident of what became Chicago. Andrew Rube Foster, a baseball player, manager, owner, commissioner, and champion of Black enterprise. In 1920, he established the Negro National League and is considered the father of Black baseball. He was elected to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in 1981. As a pitcher, Foster reportedly won 44 consecutive games. He had over 100 strikeouts in 12 games. He is credited with inventing and perfecting his signatory pitch, a fadeaway, today known as the screwball. In 1910, Foster founded and managed the Chicago American Giants. He was a visionary who created a means for Black baseball players to have a league of their own. Daniel Hale Williams, a surgeon and inventor who is credited with performing the first successful open heart surgery. He graduated from medical school in 1883, opening his practice in Chicago, Illinois. Dr. Williams deserves credit for numerous notable firsts. In addition to being the first doctor to perform successful open heart surgery, he was the first surgeon to open the chest cavity without the patient dying of infection. Dr. Williams was the first African American to establish a hospital in the United States. In 1891, he founded Chicago's Providence Hospital and Nursing Training School. These notable and iconic legends are gone, but will forever be inscribed into the archives of Illinois Black Hall of Fame.
Juneteenth, a day for celebrations, a day for reflective thoughts, a day for a call to action, and a day for a discussion. Let's talk about Juneteenth, a conversation with U.S. Congressman Davis, a Juneteenth Act co-sponsor. Good morning to all in attendance. I'm Dr. Ciola Davis Barnes, and on behalf of all the members of the African American Ladies Legacy Foundation, I greet you. The African American Ladies Legacy Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization registered in good standings in the state of Illinois. Our mission is TAP. We teach, appreciate, and preserve the lives and legacies of African American women with first distinction. Their lives and legacies are preserved via our interactive, intuitive website. Today, we also acknowledge U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, the primary sponsor of the Juneteenth Act. Additionally, I would like to introduce to some and perhaps reacquaint to others Opal Lee, grandmother of Juneteenth. Miss Opal, as she is affectionately called, is a 96-year young Texas native. In 2016, at the ripe age of 89, the retired school teacher and longtime community activist took up the cause of elevating Juneteenth to become a federal holiday, and she succeeded. Congressman Davis, we appreciate your being with us today and for providing us with your wisdom and perspective on Juneteenth. Special thanks is also being extended to our very own Dr. Celinda, who is a recent addition to the Legacy Ladies family. We salute and applaud the leadership you gave to this Let's Talk About Juneteenth, a conversation with Congressman Davis initiative. Again, we thank you, Dr. Celinda. At the conclusion of today's discussion, we will officially open the nominating process for the Illinois Black Hall of Fame, class of 2024. In closing, I extend orchids and kudos to our mistress of ceremony, Jamie Gill. Jamie is an author, life coach, radio show talk co-host, and possesses many other talents that time will not allow me to elaborate on. I was told to be brief, be informative, and be seated. I bring to you our mistress of ceremony for today, Legacy Lady Jamie Gill.
Hello, everyone. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. I don't know about you, but I am excited about today. You are a part of history. Do you know that? You are history makers. Thank you, lovely, wonderful, amazing founder, president, and visionary, Dr. Ciola Barnes, for such a wonderful welcome and overview of what we're going to participate in today. Today is Juneteenth, and if you have any melanated skin, you should be excited. Juneteenth is such a special holiday because it is truly a time of celebration for our culture. It is a time of celebration for our country. And I am excited and honored to be a part of such a historic event, a conversation about Juneteenth with the incomparable Congressman Danny Davis. Today is special because today is not only about enlightenment for those that were not fully aware of this special day, but it is all about not only education, but it is also about a call to action. I love studying history because I learned so much about myself and I learned so much about my country, and it helps me to learn how I can implement what was done into what's happening today so that we can make a better tomorrow. And that's what the African American Ladies Legacy Foundation is all about. It's all about celebrating the past. It's all about inspiring the present. It's about encouraging the future. And that's why we're here today. So as we move forward today, I think that in order to give us a true foundation of what Juneteenth is about and how it became such a historic holiday that we all should be celebrating, I want to bring in my new friend. I met Dr. Sy through creating this event, and immediately there was a connection. A woman with great passion, a woman with just commitment to her community, to her history, to her people, and it has been an honor. And so that's my take on her. But let me give you some specs on Dr. Sy, because she is a woman well worth her name of doctor. Dr. Sy, also her full name, Dr. Celinda Muzindapo, such a name of wealth of value. She's a social justice activist and a leader in education who resides in Hazel Crest, Illinois. Dr. Sy is known for her passionate, inclusive, and collaborative leadership style. Professionally, she works in education technology, where she leads a team that supports over 7,000 faculty members across over 30 universities. Outside of her work, Dr. Sy was recently elected as a school board member for Illinois District 144. She also serves as a consultant and an executive DEI coach in collaboration with organizations like Compass and AmeriCorps. Those names sound familiar to you? Sound familiar to me. In addition to earning her doctorate degree in adult and higher education from Northern Illinois University, Dr. Sy also earned a certificate from Northwestern University in leading racial equity and inclusion in organizations. How many people can tell you that's important? That's really important. She earned that degree in 2021. She is also a proud toddler mom of a very cute little one, and auntie in her local community. She enjoys connecting with neighbors, painting, making music, and gardening in her leisure time. It is my esteemed honor to bring before you all today my new friend and sister, Dr. Sy.
Thank you so much, Jamie, and I am so grateful for the opportunity we've had to collaborate in preparation for today's event. Want to welcome everyone here. Thank you for coming and sharing this portion of your celebration today with us. Before we jump in deeply into the conversation with Congressman Davis, we did want to just take an additional moment and honor Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. She was a key player alongside many other folks who she'll name in this brief video we're going to share for the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, which established this new federal holiday after 38 years. So let's just take a moment and watch her thanking Congress after this act was done. And you'll hear some familiar names here as well, I think.
Woman from Texas seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, I ask to address the House for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentlewoman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
It's not often when you can stand on the floor of the House and use the terminology, "I feel full" or "filled." It is a terminology that many of us are familiar with in the religious communities of our Black American tradition. But after a journey of 10 years, I just want to take this moment for thanking all of my colleagues, Democrats and Republicans, who showed America that there is unity in the understanding of our history. That history of slavery is the original sin and should never be ignored. But now we have a national independence holiday for Juneteenth. Let us come together. Thank you to Senator Markey, Senator Cornyn. Senator Smith was with us as well. My friend Danny Davis, as well, Doug Matthews, the Moody family, and of course, Reverend Thomas and many others from the Galveston area, Opal Lee, and the father of Juneteenth, the late Representative Al Edwards. Opal Lee still lives. She brought 1.6 million petitions to the United States Congress in the dead of summer. And so, on behalf of all who have waited for this, I thank them. And to the Congressional Black Caucus, Joyce Beatty is the chair. We stand here as the conscience of the Congress, thanking them with all my colleagues. Again, we say, our message is our power. We are here to serve, and there's more to come in changing lives for justice, equality, and freedom. That is what happened today. I yield back.
Wow. Can you imagine not knowing something that everybody else knows? That's what Juneteenth significance is. A writer once said that we don't celebrate the history of Juneteenth, we celebrate the symbolism of Juneteenth, the transition from bondage to freedom, from slavery to freedom. And I absolutely applaud the work of Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, as well as the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal, for just continuing to know what's important. Not only is our collective freedom in this country, but also the education. I'm a Florida resident, so I say that with great passion, the education of freedom and our history. And so now let's just dive into the conversation, because that's why we're all here. It is now time for me to bring on someone that I have been able to watch from afar as a former resident of Illinois. do so much great work. And as I have participated in the African American Lady Legacy Foundation and the Illinois Black Hall of Fame, I've grown to know him more personally. And everything that I've known about him from afar is truly accurate about this man. Congressman Danny K. Davis was chosen by the people of the 7th Congressional District of Illinois as their representative in Congress on November 5th, 1996. He has been reelected by large majorities to succeeding Congresses. In the 117th Congress, Representative Davis is resolutely committed to preserving our democracy, protecting Social Security, maintaining our nation's gains in civil and human rights, women's rights, voting rights, protection of the environment, consumer and labor protections, reducing inequality, and ensuring quality, affordable healthcare for all, while maintaining his longtime focus on issues of job creation, poverty, healthcare, education, youth, and criminal justice reform. He truly is a holistic politician. I don't even think he deserves the name politician, because the name politician also often has a negative. He truly is an ambassador for the people. He has been a former educator, a current community organizer, health planner, administrator, civil rights advocate. The list goes on and on. Because of his commitment and his work, he has received hundreds of awards and citations for his outstanding work. And he has also received many honorary doctorate degrees from well-known colleges and universities. He has traveled extensively throughout the United States and has spent time in Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, Asia, and in South and Central America. I absolutely love, honor, and respect this man. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together virtually as we bring to the stage the Honorable Congressman Danny Davis. Welcome.
Well, Dr. Celinda, let me just thank you for all of that good information that you shared. And I'll wear the tag for some of it. But let me congratulate the Illinois Black Ladies Foundation, Lady Legacy Foundation, for the tremendous programming that you do. Of course, Dr. Ceola Davis Barnes and all of the rest of the team who have labored untiringly to make sure that this happens. I have enjoyed every moment of it since we started.
That's wonderful.
It reinforces for me just a great deal of culture, of understanding, of historical fact, and helps us realize how we got to where we are today. You know, as James Weldon Johnson said, stony has been the road we trod. And so here we are today, celebrating Juneteenth as a national holiday with thousands and thousands of events taking place all over the country. As a matter of fact, I still have 4 more today, and I won't finish with those until about 9 o'clock tonight, when I will be out in the South Suburban community giving somebody a presidential award. So it's been a great weekend.
Wow.
Let me just tell you the way legislation, I mean, we've been doing Juneteenth ever since I've been born. As a matter of fact, I grew up in a little town in rural Arkansas where most of the people were farmers. And we did June 19th. They told us that this is when Black folks really got free. We didn't know exactly what they meant, but we did know that on June 19th, if we were still cultivating the crops, we would not work a half a day. We would only work until 12 o'clock. Then we have a great big sumptuous meal. I mean, off the chart. And you would not have to work the rest of the afternoon. And that was the Juneteenth celebration. we still didn't know exactly what it meant. But then ultimately, as we studied history and began to understand the processes of decision making, we always wondered, how could it be that the people in Texas, but not only Texas, other fringe areas of the country where information was difficult to get to people, and there were people who lived in isolated ways and all, and they didn't get the information either. And so we never knew why it took all this time for people to get information. They did have telegraphs. They didn't have the instant communication devices. They couldn't pick up the phone and call everybody, go on the computer and let everybody know. And so that's always been a mystery to me. If you really want to try to understand much of it, study the period of slavery and Reconstruction in America.
I'm glad you brought that up. That was one of the questions the group wanted to ask you was, your thoughts about the connection between slavery and then, today and celebrating today.
Well, today is somewhat like the period of Reconstruction. You can imagine all of the accomplishment that former slaves who weren't taught or allowed to learn to read and write, all of what they were able to do after the end of slavery, during a few years, during a period called Reconstruction, hospitals, business, politics, even worked their way into getting elected. Many people don't know that there were about 20 African Americans elected to Congress before the end of 1900. And so many people think Oscar DePriest was the first Black guy elected to Congress, but it was not all. There was a whole bunch of them. And as some groups in America looked at the progress these people were making, they rallied as much as they could to prevent it from happening. And they ran the last Black out of Congress. There was not another one there from 1900 to 1932, I believe it was, when Oscar DePriest in Chicago got elected. But there were two African-American Black senators in Mississippi, Hiram Rivers and B.K. Bruce. And so Blacks were just, hospitals, schools, universities, and then some other people said, we got to stop this. We got to block it.
So what would you say to, because in preparation for today, when I was sharing that we were going to have this event, and I was really excited that I was going to have a chance to have this conversation with you. There are some people who are critics of Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday. And what would you say to those folks having so much history and having such a deep understanding of our journey of where we've come? What would be your response to someone who says Juneteenth being a holiday, nobody asked for that?
Well, there are a lot of people who don't dig deeply enough into things to fully understand what they mean. My daddy used to tell us that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. He'd say you got to think deep because shallow drinking intoxicates the brain. And so people, there are people who feel that, having a paid holiday of people not working, every time there's a holiday, that doesn't mean that everybody that works get a chance to take the holiday and not get paid. I'm a firm believer that work is a virtue, but holidays are ways of internalizing the memories of what you believe in. For example, many people practice Christmas, and even though it's for everybody, they put a big focus on children at Christmas time, that children get toys and opportunity to do things that they wouldn't. So individuals who, and I must mention this, I had an event night before last, or last night may have even been, where we gave awards to more than 30 people, each one of them from almost a different country. We call it multi-ethnic, a multi-ethnic group that works within, as a matter of fact, the chairman is from Indonesia. But people were there from China, from India, from Japan, from Mexico, from every place that you could mention. So there are individuals who don't want and don't believe that everybody ought to have the same opportunities and same experiences in our country. And while we have not gotten there, we're still a long way. But Juneteenth is a way of helping people better understand the evolution of our country to it becoming what it is today. And so, no, everybody is not getting paid.
Yeah.
Not go to work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have one more question for you, and we do have some folks in the audience sending questions in now who want to chat. But I just have one more question for you. In your opinion, what are some of the most, like, if you were going to narrow down maybe 3 most important historical figures that you think we should honor and recognize on this day, who would they be?
You know, it would really be hard. And
Yeah.
and I think limiting things and the most, I think you know, there are people like Carter G. Woodson who promoted education. And let me tell you, when people ask me, what do I think I've done most in terms of being an elected official, I would say trying to educate people so that every person understands the power and power potential that they as individuals have. And that it's when you bring that together, then you get the opportunity to really express, like Juneteenth, the process. Barack Obama and I used to do a Juneteenth event every year when he was in the Senate. And so how do you get legislation passed? You have an idea and you keep promoting it every way that you can. You make speeches about it. You try and get other people to do it. You use every process that there is to get it to the point. And I have to admit that there was a gentleman left out of the naming of people, and that was Dr. Ron Myers from Greenville, Mississippi, who I think was as involved on an outside basis as Miss Opal Lee, because Dr. Myers went all over the country. He was in private practice of medicine, but he died before we got a chance to get the bill passed. And sometimes people kind of forget about him. But I must have done 10 or 12 events with him. And we'd always joke and say, Dr. Myers, how can you do this when you are a physician in private practice and when you leave your office in Greenville, Mississippi, or in Chula, Mississippi, you had 2 or 3, or in Lexington, Mississippi, you ain't making no money.
Yeah.
Nobody's seeing you. There's no organization, there's no group, there's no nothing that you are getting any resources from. And he said, this is it. When we got the bill passed, I called his wife and shared with her, you know, the respect that we all had for Dr. Myers, who was involved in the process of raising the issue, so that when the Republicans decided, when Senator Cornyn decided that he would introduce a bill in the Senate, it was kind of like Katie bar the door. It was automatic. Democrats were already in favor of it. And once Senator Cornyn introduced his bill, the president was ready to sign. But it really takes a certain level of understanding to know how these processes work. And it's intriguing when you go behind the headlines and figure out how it really happened.
First question here that came in related to what you just said is how, and everybody else, you can private chat those questions to me, or you can send those in through the public chat. But the first question is where do you pull to not give up is what they're saying here. Like, how did you not give up in all that time of having to reintroduce the bill and talk about it again?
Well, if you understand again, change and how change occurs, or how the process, when you can get enough people promoting an idea, decision makers will take that idea and encase it into becoming law. And that's why you can start just with your thought. I'm saying, and then you get somebody else to agree. Then you start meeting, and you start talking, you start having hearings, and you have to know that change is always possible, but it's not always instant. It takes time, effort, and faith. I mean, you got to believe in the process. If you believe in the process, then you can make it happen. I remember my second chance bill. We started working on it 10 years before we got it passed. But we just
10
kept
years
doing it.
You said 10 years before you got it passed?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, change requires a lot of, you're talking about the whole country.
Yeah.
You're talking about convincing enough of 218 people in the House and at least 51 people in the Senate, and sometimes 60 people in the Senate. And so every step of that, I always say that if you want to go south, you turn and face in that direction. And every time you take a step, you get a little bit closer to 95th Street. But if you going around in circles or you're heading up towards Evanston, you ain't never gonna get to South Bend. I mean, it's the process as well as it is the content. I'm saying the idea is great, but you generally have to work the process in order to make it happen.
Thank you for that. I don't know about anybody else, but I sure needed to hear that. All right, we have a couple questions here. Krista asked, how can those that have influence in the community be a voice for inclusion in a dominantly Republican community or in a community that's culturally ignorant? So somebody living in a community that's not diverse, it sounds like.
Have faith and keep on moving. For example, we just had a victory. Some people, we think of it as a victory, where the United States Supreme Court has made two decisions that I really like. One, they upheld the Illinois banning of assault weapons. They said, okay, Illinois, and there were people who went to the Supreme Court and said, look, make Illinois take that ban off assault weapons in their state, although it's not national. It's in Illinois. They upheld it. They also said, let's look at redistricting in many of these states like Alabama, where there's only one Black congressman. In Mississippi, where there's only one Black congressman. In South Carolina, and not only one Black, but also one Democrat. And so the process is still open, and we have to keep advocacy going. I often say that freedom is a hard-won thing. Each generation has to win it and win it again. So you can't stop. It's not a project. You got to keep working on it as long as you live. If you're going to ever reach the point where there is equal opportunity, where there is freedom for all, and where people can be respected as pure citizens of this United States of America.
One more, we have a couple more questions that are kind of similar. So given, respecting your time and the fact that you have 3 more events today, I want to try to condense those into one, which is, related to all the things that we've talked about here today. What would you say to seniors who are, entering the season of like Juneteenth being a federal holiday, but who are also still kind of struggling financially and still, dealing with the day-to-day issues? What encouraging words would you have for them?
I think they have to not give up because, again, for example, people who get Social Security as a result of the Biden administration got an 8.7% raise on their Social Security check at the beginning of the year. Now, there are other people who wanted to limit or even cut Social Security, but it didn't happen because there was enough action and enough resistance and enough movement. Yes, senior citizens, especially those who had only small jobs as they were working. I remember when my father's Social Security check was $536 a month. Of course, he was fortunate. He didn't really have to worry about living because there were other opportunities to live. But he also had a lot of pride. And he'd always want to buy Vera's lunch when we go out to dinner or something. Yeah. And he'd say, I'm going to pay for your lunch. Now, he didn't get with $536 for a month. But he want to buy somebody's lunch. Our senior population, we stand on their shoulders. Let me tell you, they went through a great deal just to try and help make sure. I never make a presentation hardly without acknowledging that group of individuals, including my parents, who went before us. I'm saying, even if I didn't intend to, even if I didn't write it into the speech, it comes to me that had it not been for their sacrifices, I probably wouldn't be standing here in the halls of Congress today, talking about the things that I want to talk about. So I generally always just pay tribute to that group who went on before us and give credit to them. They didn't know exactly that we'd ever get to the point where Juneteenth was going to be a national holiday, but they still would cook their turnip greens and hot water cornbread, okra, and whatever, lots of it, have a big meal in terms of celebrating that all the people, mostly in slavery and under slavery, now could feel a sense of freedom and know that the changes were occurring to them and they didn't have to work for people and not get any compensation, although compensation oftentimes was not that much. And I think it's so important that young people understand these struggles that have occurred. And when I tell people that the first work I did after I graduated from college with honors was
Hey,
for $3 a day, 30 cents an hour. That was the only work for me where I was.
my
And
goodness.
so $3 a day was the going rate. That's what it was. But you know, we managed. We did what we did, and here we are now. You know, I went to an event yesterday, and I saw a bunch of Mercedes Benzes
Hey.
parked. I saw some Lexus parked, you know, before you go in. And so yeah, we've come a long,
Mm,
long way, but we still have a long, long way to go. And we can never get there until the rest of our brothers and sisters get there. And that's why, for example, it is so important that we make sure that every child in our country has access to early childhood education. And
yeah,
that's one of the goals that we have for the next 2 or 3 years.
love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I can't wait to rewatch this recording and just glean. There's so many nuggets you dropped. We were kind of, Jamie and I were dropping some of your quotes in the chat. You're just talking, but you're changing lives, just opening your mouth. So we really, I really do appreciate you sharing your time and your history and all of the contributions. You say, you know, as you said earlier, we stand on our elders' shoulders. Thank you for availing your shoulders to people like me. Really appreciate you sharing the space with us here today. And for everyone for coming, we do have one more video that Dr. Barnes wants us to share, just to give you some perspective on past honorees. So we are going to share that in a moment. But I just want to open the floor. Is there anything that anyone else that's really pressing that you would like to share or to talk, just come off and talk about your experience today?
Yes, I would. Pamela Pickett.
Absolutely.
I would just want to know what were the Black legislators doing about HR 40 with reparations.
Let me tell you, reparations is at the highest level of its being right now. There has never been as much potential. There has never been as much interest. There has never been as much movement. We've seen the progress in a real way in Evanston, Illinois. We've seen it in California. We're seeing it in other places. If and when, I'll say when we take back the House in the next round of elections, hold on to the Senate and keep the president, I guarantee you we're going to see some real movement on reparations in this country. That's my prediction. And when it happens, if it does not happen, you can hold me to it.
Thank you so much, Congressman. I see Legacy Lady Marva has her hand raised here. Oh, how do I do that? Queen Searles.
Hi, thank you for receiving my question. And Congressman Danny Davis, I'm so grateful for this opportunity to thank you for all that you've done in Chicago when I was there as a teacher. And I'm reaching out to you, especially because I now know how you advocate for seniors. And I never thought I'd live to be one of them, but I'm one of them, and I'm seeing some things that are going on that I'm hoping and praying that everyone in this room will commit to helping, one, change the Social Security laws, that if I didn't know that this was happening, if I wasn't going through this, I wouldn't know that they aren't allowed to have more than $2,000 in resources, and we are being harassed unmercifully. And today, $2,000 yesterday, rent was only, and I'm saying yesterday, 1972, as some of you might not know, especially the host, rent was only like $150 a month. $2,000 today would be worth over $14,000. And seniors are being harassed. They follow you home. They're robbing them because they know you can't keep money in the bank. And worst of all, the government is now taking money out of checks and they're making you vulnerable. As you can see, this is my art. And if you notice, I was in Chicago. I test marketed products all over the country, the world. We got new seasonings. And they are robbing me of my assets because you become vulnerable. And I'm
Thank
just
you.
one for everybody in the room to just try to get some help and bring awareness to the need to change that SSI rule. I'm thinking this is why I lost everything, because I fight. As if you remember, Congressman, I fought all the way on to coming to see you in Washington, D.C., and you are one of the few that received me in your office. And Justice Ginsburg took the brief that I wrote on behalf of teachers two chambers, even though they didn't hear it. That was major because it got the attention of reporters and everything. And you met with us, well, me and other teachers who were involved in your office. It was, I think, finally 2005, someone from your office and Senator Barack Obama's office. They called me while I was in Virginia trying to leave Chicago and told me I needed to come back to Chicago. And
That's
so I
why
was,
we're so grateful, seriously, for thank
yeah,
you. Thank you for even sharing that. We're grateful for,
yeah,
for
so
Congressman Davis and
grateful.
for all of our Congress people. And I think I can see faces, folks, it's resonating for sure. That the concern is absolutely resonating with folks. I also do want to definitely keep, we definitely, so we're going to be respectful of people's time, everyone's time, and that we would try to keep the ceremony for under an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and play our final video. In a moment, I'm going to drop a link in the chat so that anybody who would like to continue sharing any thoughts, ideas that come to you, you'll be able to share those both while watching this video and then beyond. So I'm going to go ahead and share this, and then I'll drop a link for everyone to share some feedback if you would like to.
I do
Oh,
just
yes.
in case some people jump off before the end of the video.
Mhm.
All of this is a part of the African American Ladies Legacy Foundation and the Illinois Black Hall of Fame for us to continue to celebrate our history and to prepare for the future. As you're watching the video, you will see some of the past nominees for the Illinois Black Hall of Fame, and nominations are now open today on Juneteenth. So if you know someone that you believe deserves to be celebrated for the work that they're doing in Illinois, past honorees have been the Honorable Timuel Black, rest in peace. He was our first honoree. Everyone such as Harold Washington, we've had Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright, we've had Bessie Coleman, we've had Blondine Davis, we've had Black McDonald's representative, we've also had Emil Jones. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've been doing this for 2 years, and as we prepare for next year, as you're watching the video that's coming, please keep in mind some people that you think that would be honored. The museum is located at Governor State University. It's absolutely beautiful. So the packets will be available on the website, and all that information will be in the video. So I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you so much. And can we just give our wonderful MC and host Jamie a hand for jumping in and for keeping us flowing throughout the ceremony here. Here we go.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you.
They say if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. And if you want to go far, you go with someone else. All my life, I've been about team. Team family, the greatest mother and father in the world, Bernice and Leon Taylor. My sister, my brothers, Team Taylor. My team, my wife, Cheryl Taylor, my son, Derek Taylor, Kyle, my daughter, Brandy, my son-in-law, Kendu, and my two granddaughter and grandson. Team McDonald's, Team McDonald's, Team BMOA, I stand on the backs of Herman Petty, who was the first African-American McDonald's owner of Chicago. Just recently, a street was named after him. Also, I stand on the back of Willie Wilson, not because we're friends, but he was with me early when I became an owner-operator. Also, James Floyd, business mentor, friend. So, to end this, I believe when you're going to go far, bring some people with you. When you want to go fast, stay by yourself, and that's where you'll be. So, go far, be with somebody, help somebody, and bring up somebody. Thank you.
There is a philosophy throughout the continent of Africa that I think about, and I thought about it when I woke up this morning. And when they greet each other, they simply say, "How are the children?" And the response is, "All the children are well." And so I think it's very ironic that I should be honored tonight by the Black Hall of Fame for something that brings me so much joy, something that brings me so much happiness. And that is very simply just educating children and doing my best to do it well. Because today when I stand here as a reflection of and in place of all the hundreds of thousands of teachers who were privileged to go into a classroom each and every day. And I also stand here because I know that there are some fellow superintendents in the audience who had other things to do because they feel this vision, they have this dream, they know the importance of educating our children. But they also know that when one of us is honored, we are all honored. Excellence is the expectation, but the fulfillment of the dream really is my goal. Thank you so much to the Black Hall.
Thank you. It's great to be here. You can see I've been very, very fortunate to have been blessed with two extraordinary pioneering parents who helped set the stage for my life. Also like to say, well, thank you. I was also very fortunate to grow up here in Chicago on the South Side and stand on the shoulders of some of the great entrepreneurs that we were also blessed to have a part of our lives here in Chicago. I remember early on being influenced by John Johnson and going to that Ebony Jet building and just being mesmerized and amazed at what he had accomplished in building that great, great business. And then as I got older, I got to know George Johnson and to see what he was able to build with Johnson Products. And after